Welcome to the Midweek Metal Fest. I am the original Brad, and here with me now again is Junior and Kimberly of One-Eyed Doll.
Hi.
Howdy. How's the tour going so far?
Awesome. Best tour yet.
Best tour yet. I bet you say that about all the tours.
They keep getting better and better, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good as long as it keeps progressing.
Yeah.
Don't go backwards.
No.
Is any memorable, any moments that stick out so far as being especially memorable on this tour?
Yeah, well, last night, actually, in Jacksonville was pretty special. There was a power outage, and we didn't think we were going to get to play at all, but we ended up playing for 10 minutes. But it was really, we were grateful for that 10 minutes, though, because, we didn't think we were playing at all, but we got to hang out with fans all night long in the dark in this big club, so it was pretty cool. It was special. Because, usually we get to hang out with fans after our set for a little while, maybe 20 minutes, and then right after the headliner's set. But we know you don't necessarily get to meet everybody, but we were just hanging out all night. We gave out free posters to everybody who stayed and just signed and hugged people. It was really special.
No craziness in the dark?
Well, there were some welding torches, but that was, the employees. So I guess they had it under control. The guy behind the bar was like, it was pretty awesome. I think they were welding. It was like sparking.
Yeah, it was I don't know what it was, but yeah, some kind of, something was sparking, and it was nothing but emergency light. There's a few little emergency lights so you could kind of see what was going on, but yeah, it was pretty fun.
Fire's always good.
Yeah, fires
at a metal show.
Yep.
Yeah, some pyrotechnics.
It hasn't been long since you guys were on tour last. 6 months, if that long? Did you even have time to recharge and get anything accomplished before you set back out on the road?
Yeah, we did some recording. We got to be home in the studio for like 3 months or something like that, and we did some recording, and then early January we go to this thing called NAMM, which is the National Association of Music Merchandisers, it's like a big musical instrument extravaganza. It's huge in LA, and you get to meet pretty much every rock star in the world is there, so it's super cool, and every music instrument manufacturer is there. And then Kim went to the Grammys right after that. So
yeah, how was the Grammys?
Awesome. It was actually really good this year. The performances were really good.
Had you ever been before?
Yeah, I went last year.
Okay. Did you meet anybody this year that you had never met before?
Oh, well, I touched someone who touched Elton John.
Whoa.
So
2 degrees.
yeah, I pretty much made out with Elton John.
Well, there goes that question. I had that on the list. You want to tell us a little bit about the Crush endorsement? That's new.
Yeah, Crush is super awesome. We've been a lot of the bands that we tour with are they use Crush drums, and I've always been super jealous. And so and they make really artistic, just ultra modern looking drums. It's not like a lot of those the other companies. We've just been seeing them for 20, 30 years, and Crush just has a new take on the whole look of their kits. And I'm using an acrylic drum set, which was made famous by John Bonham. Of course, he played a Ludwig acrylic kit, but I think Crush has even stepped it up past that. They just sound amazing, and they look awesome. They've got black hardware, and apparently I'm one of 2 people that has this particular kit, but you're going to be able to pick up the Crush acrylic with black hardware kit at Guitar Center very soon. So
Awesome. I was reading one of your forums on your website, and you were talking about the digital or the computer age of music lacking the human aspect or the human element in the music. Do you remember commenting on it? How do you guys try to avoid so much of the computer technology and try to keep it real?
Well, it depends on what song it is. We record our music with computers. I think pretty much everyone does. Unless you're recording on a tape deck and then taking that tape deck and putting it on vinyl, there's a computer involved somewhere. So I'm not religiously anti-computer by any means. I use a computer for everything we do. But I think that there's a point where everything starts sounding the same. Everything you hear on the radio, it's like that. whether it's Katy Perry or Lady Gaga or Rihanna, it's like you can't even hardly tell the difference between most of those vocalists because they're just so ironed out, you know. And so when you listen to a One Eyed Doll album, you know, you're not going to hear like computer vocoder, you know, like it sounds like a robot, you know. You can actually hear the vibrato in her voice, and it's like, and it actually be her singing, which is really, I think, important. But, you know, we have a whole electronic album, which for the most part, I actually played most of the keyboard parts with my fingers on a keyboard. So even that is like pretty organic, but I like program the drums and stuff. And so, you know, we incorporate some electronic type music in our, you know, in what we do. So we're not anti-electronic music. It's just, you know, I feel like certain elements, like, you know, the groove of the drums and the tone of the vocals and everything, you should try to capture the human, like just maintain that performance, you know, the original performance, rather than just running it through a computer program that makes it sound like they push the Katy Perry button, you know.
You guys have a lot of freedom with your music, right? You have your own label. You're kind of on your own, doing it on your own. And so you have more say and more freedom. And how does that reflect in your music? Do you want to answer that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we do whatever we want. That's pretty cool. We don't, you know, we don't have to pander to anyone or discuss really with anyone unless we want to, what we're gonna do or what we're gonna put on an album. It's our stuff, and it's really special to us, and so every song is deeply meaningful to us. And
what are some of the things that you've done that probably wouldn't have been allowed had you had to answer to someone?
Oh gosh, where would I start? Hey, producer, you answer that one.
You know, I think there, you know, we did an electronic album, which is, you know, I think most record labels would say stick to your definition. You know, we're a rock band with drums and guitar and vocals, and we make this kind of like, you know, punk metal, AC/DC, whatever kind of riffs with, you know,
lather, rinse, repeat.
Yeah, and it's like that's, you know, the marketing people would tell you that, you know, you want to stick to that formula and keep doing that same thing, and we're just not into that. We do folky acoustic stuff. We'll do. We actually have a whole experimental album that is just going to be like nothing else that we've ever done. It's actually finished, so we're just waiting for the right time to put that out. And you know, we love all kinds of different music, so we're just going to make whatever we feel like, and I feel very lucky that our fan base is accepting of just about everything we put out. So
open-minded.
Yeah, very open-minded.
I caught a glimpse. I didn't get to read a whole lot about it. I was falling asleep, but that you guys play at Dragon Con occasionally, or have played at Dragon Con, or what's your connection with that?
Yeah, we sort of piggybacked one year onto Dragon Con with our friends Arc Attack, who are from Austin, and they were actually invited to play Dragon Con, and they sort of just brought us in and let us play with them. And that's the only time we've ever played there. You know, we played in this small ballroom for a short amount of time, but you know, enough people in Atlanta were there to have remembered it, I guess. It was quite a while ago. It was 3 or 4 years ago. It was awesome though. We love conventions. We've played a number of conventions, and Dragon Con is the biggie.
That was actually going on last time you guys were in Atlanta.
Yeah, I know.
So what can we look forward to from you guys coming up, I guess, after you're done with this tour and you're back home and writing and not showering is what I'm looking for.
We will not be showering.
No.
Last time I asked that question, you said I will shower. That's the next thing I'm doing.
Right.
So I'm trying to be more specific.
Wash our clothes, you know.
Side shower.
We actually have 2 albums that are totally finished. We have a One Eyed Doll album that was produced by Sylvia Massey, and we are either going to put that out ourselves on our own label, or we're going to shop it around, and hopefully maybe we'll find a record label that really gets what we do, that offers us a deal that makes sense. If we can do that, then we'll put it out through them. Otherwise, we'll put it out like we usually do, just on our own. And then we have that kind of experimental album that I was telling you about. So we're going to be working on putting that stuff out. We're really, I think, kind of stepping up our own label, Nebulast Records, which we've just had to run to do our thing. So we might even get a couple of employees and like really step it up. So we're getting to that point where we just can't handle it with just the two of us anymore. It's like, wow, we're getting more orders and more business than we can handle on our own. So it's a good problem to have, and I'm hoping that we can just grow it like that.
Now, growing like that, was that something you ever expected when you first started getting into this?
Yeah, that's what I planned on. I plan on eventually turning this into a successful small business, and maybe a bigger business, until I couldn't handle, and basically until the demand exceeded the supply, and then we would look for funding and help from the outside. But I really, that's what I've been looking to do this whole time since I was dumpster diving for stuff to sell on our merch table. That's what I had in mind. It's like I definitely love making music, and the more time that I can spend making music and not having to do something else, the better. So yeah, that's what I planned on.
Dumpster diving?
Yeah.
What?
In the beginning, I was taking trash and making art out of it to sell at the merch table, because I didn't have any money to buy merch. I was living in my car. So it's sort of just from the very beginning, I was just like, okay, where can I build from with zero money, And that's what I've been shooting for, is to be able to do it full time and be successful at it.